Before we begin, if you're enjoying these real-life stories of betrayal, justice, and family drama, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Your support helps me bring you more incredible true stories every week. My name is Jason Carter, and I'm 41 years old. I've spent the last 17 years building a software consulting business from my parents' garage into a company that generates $2.3 million annually. I drive a 2011 Honda Accord with 187,000 miles on it. I buy my clothes at Target. I clip coupons at the grocery store. And 3 weeks ago, my fiancée Melissa staged an intervention about my spending problem in front of 12 people, including her entire family and my closest friends. What she didn't know was that I'd discovered her real plan 2 days earlier, and what I did next changed both our lives forever. Before I tell you what happened, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from, because this story starts 6 months ago, when I made the mistake of thinking that someone who loved designer handbags could love a man who still wore shoes from 2015. I met Melissa Hayes at a charity gala in downtown Seattle. I wasn't supposed to be there. My business partner Trevor had bought a table for $5,000 to network with potential clients, and I'd agreed to attend because he'd just landed us a contract with a major healthcare provider. Melissa was stunning. Emerald green dress, diamond earrings that caught the light every time she moved. She worked in pharmaceutical sales and carried herself with the kind of confidence that comes from closing 6-figure deals. We talked for 3 hours that night. She seemed genuinely interested when I explained that my software helped hospitals reduce administrative costs. She laughed at my jokes. She touched my arm when she wanted to emphasize a point. "You're different from most tech guys," she said over champagne. "You actually care about making things better, not just making money." I should have paid attention to that last part. We started dating the next week. Melissa was 34, never married, focused on her career. She lived in a luxury apartment in Belltown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound. Rent, $3,800 a month. I owned a modest 3-bedroom house in Ballard that I'd bought in 2012 for $340,000. Current value, approximately $950,000. Mortgage, paid off in 2019. The differences between us were obvious from the start. Melissa ordered $40 entrees at restaurants and thought nothing of spending $200 on brunch. I usually suggested we cook at home and save money. "Jason, you can afford to splurge sometimes," she'd say, examining the menu at whatever upscale restaurant she'd chosen. "You own a successful company." "I can afford to splurge because I don't splurge," I'd reply, calculating the markup on the organic, grass-fed, locally sourced steak she was considering. But I was falling in love. And when you're falling in love, you ignore warning signs you'd normally spot from a mile away. 3 months into dating, Melissa started asking questions about my business: revenue, expenses, profit margins, client retention rates. "I'm just curious about what you do all day," she'd say, curled up on my couch in yoga pants that probably cost $150. "Tell me about the Peterson healthcare contract." I told her everything: the $470,000 annual contract, the potential for expansion, the 3 other hospitals in their network that might sign on. "That's incredible, Jason. You should be so proud of what you've built." I was proud. I'd started with nothing but a computer science degree and a dream. No family money, no investors, just 80-hour weeks and a conviction that I could build something valuable. 4 months in, Melissa started leaving things at my house: a toothbrush, shampoo, clothes. Gradually, she moved in without us ever discussing it. "Is this okay?" she asked one evening, standing in my doorway with 3 suitcases. "My lease is up next week, and I thought we could save money by living together." I should have questioned why someone who spent $200 on brunch suddenly cared about saving money. But I didn't. I just helped her carry her suitcases upstairs. 5 months in, I proposed. We were at Cary Park, overlooking the Seattle skyline at sunset. I'd planned it for weeks. The ring had cost me $18,000, a princess-cut diamond that Melissa had pointed out in a jewelry store window 2 months earlier. "Jason, that's too expensive," she'd said at the time. "You don't need to spend that much." but her eyes had lit up when she saw it. And I wanted to see that light again. She said yes. She cried. She called her mother immediately. "Mom, Jason proposed. Yes, with the ring, the one I showed you." That should have been my first real warning. She'd shown her mother the ring before I'd even bought it. The intervention was scheduled for Sunday, April 23rd at 2 p.m. Melissa had told me it was a casual family dinner at her parents' house in Medina. Just my parents, my sister, and her husband. Super low-key, wear whatever you want. I wore jeans and a polo shirt from Target, $12.99 on clearance. But 2 days before that dinner, on Friday afternoon, I discovered the truth. I'd come home early from a client meeting. The Peterson healthcare expansion had just been approved, an additional $280,000 in annual revenue. I was excited to tell Melissa. She was in my home office, sitting at my desk, looking through files I kept in my filing cabinet. Physical files, the kind that contain original contracts, bank statements, and business documents that existed before everything went digital. "Melissa, what are you doing?" She jumped, literally jumped, and dropped the folder she was holding. Bank statements scattered across my desk. "Jason, you're home early." "I can see that. Why are you going through my files?" Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, guilt, calculation. Then finally, artificial sweetness. "I was looking for our insurance information. I wanted to see if we could combine policies after we get married." "Those are business accounts, not personal insurance." "Oh?" She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "I must have grabbed the wrong folder. You know how I get confused with all your organizational systems." Melissa had a master's degree in business administration. She managed a pharmaceutical sales territory covering 3 states. She was not confused by organizational systems. I walked to the desk and started gathering the bank statements. That's when I saw what else was spread out. My tax returns from the past 5 years, my business operating agreement, my investment account statements, and a yellow legal pad with notes in Melissa's handwriting. The notes said, annual business revenue, 2.3 Metzger's personal salary, 180K investment accounts, 1.2 Anitera's house value, 950K, no mortgage, total net worth, 2.4 Enders. Below that, she'd written, prenup would limit access joint accounts after marriage? Life insurance policy. Check beneficiary business ownership structure. Can I be added? I stared at those notes for 10 full seconds while Melissa continued talking, spinning some story about wedding planning and needing to know our financial situation. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was reading the last line she'd written. Intervention, Sunday, family plus friends, establish pattern of poor judgment with money. Jason, are you listening? I said I was trying to help us plan our future. I looked up at her, really looked at her. The emerald green dress from the gala, the designer handbags that probably cost $3,000 each, the jewelry, the cars. She drove a leased BMW X5 that cost $890 a month. How much debt do you have? I asked quietly. What? Debt, credit cards, car lease, how much? Her face changed again, this time to defensiveness. That's personal. We're getting married. I think I have a right to know. Jason, this isn't the time. How much, Melissa? Silence. Long silence. Then, about $140,000. The number hit me like cold water. $140,000? It's not that much. Everyone has debt. I don't have debt. I haven't had debt since 2019 when I paid off my mortgage. Well, not everyone is a penny-pinching accountant, Jason. The anger in her voice was real. Genuine. Like my question had offended her somehow. I'm not an accountant. I'm a software consultant who built a business from nothing by being careful with money. You mean cheap. You're cheap, Jason. You make millions and you drive a car that's 12 years old. You wear Target clothes. You refuse to take me to nice restaurants. I take you to nice restaurants. We went to Canlis last month. Once? We went once, and you complained about the wine prices the entire time. This was deteriorating fast. But I needed answers. Tell me about the intervention. Her face went pale. Genuinely pale. What? I held up the legal pad. The intervention you're planning for. Sunday. The one where you establish a pattern of poor judgment with money. Tell me about that. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I can explain. Please do. Jason, I'm worried about you. You have this obsession with saving money. It's not healthy. You never want to do anything fun. You never want to travel. You won't upgrade your car or your clothes. You live like you're poor when you're actually wealthy. And the solution to this problem is an intervention with your family. My therapist suggested it. She said sometimes people need to hear from their loved ones that their behavior is causing problems. Your therapist, the one I'm paying $200 an hour for through my insurance. Melissa's jaw tightened. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You resent spending money on my mental health. I resent spending money on a therapist who apparently thinks I have a spending problem when I built a multi-million-dollar business through careful financial planning. You're not hearing me. This isn't about your business. It's about our relationship, about our future together. I looked at the notes again. Joint accounts after marriage, life insurance beneficiary, business ownership structure. This isn't about my spending habits. This is about getting access to my money. That's not true. Then explain the notes about joint accounts, about business ownership, about checking my life insurance beneficiary. She grabbed for the legal pad, but I pulled it away. Those are just practical questions every engaged couple should discuss. Every engaged couple also discusses debt before they get married. When were you planning to tell me you owe $140,000? I told you today, after I found you going through my files. We stared at each other across my desk. This woman I'd been planning to marry. This woman who'd moved into my house without paying rent. This woman who'd convinced me she loved me while apparently calculating my net worth on yellow legal pads. I think you should leave, I said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Jason, you're overreacting. Let me explain. Now, Melissa, get out now. She left, but not before grabbing her laptop, her phone, and 3 days' worth of clothes. She'd be back for the rest, she said. We'd talk about this when I'd calm down. I didn't calm down. I got methodical. The investigation. That Friday night, I did what I do best. I researched. First, I called Trevor, my business partner and closest friend. Trevor, I need you to be honest with me. Has Melissa ever asked you about my business? Silence on the other end. Trevor, Jason, I wasn't sure if I should tell you. She called me about 6 weeks ago. Asked about our revenue, our profit margins, your equity stake. She said she was trying to understand your work better. My stomach dropped. What did you tell her? Nothing detailed, but I did confirm that you owned 75% of the company and that we were profitable. I thought she was just being supportive. She wasn't. I told him about the files, the notes, the intervention plan. Jesus Christ, Trevor said. What are you going to do? I'm going to that intervention on Sunday, and I'm going to let her do exactly what she planned. What? Why? Because I want to know exactly who else is involved. I want to hear what she's prepared to say about me, and I want witnesses when I end this relationship. That's cold, man. She calculated my net worth on a legal pad, Trevor. I think cold is appropriate. Next, I called Marcus Chen, the attorney who'd handled my business formation and contracts for years. Marcus, hypothetically, if someone was planning to manipulate me into a marriage where they could access my assets, what would that look like legally? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Jason, what's going on? I explained everything. Don't marry her, he said immediately. Under any circumstances? Washington is a community property state. Anything earned during the marriage is split 50-50 in a divorce. If she's already thinking about joint accounts and business ownership, she's thinking about divorce. Even with a prenup? Prenups can be challenged, especially if someone claims they signed under duress or without proper legal representation. The best prenup is not getting married at all. What about the intervention? Should I cancel it? No, go. Document everything. If she's making false claims about your mental health or judgment, you want witnesses who can testify that you are completely rational and reasonable. She's going to claim I have a spending problem. Do you? Marcus, I'm worth $2.4 million at 41 years old because I don't have a spending problem. Then prove it. Show up prepared. Bring documentation if necessary. But most importantly, bring a witness who understands the truth. I spent Saturday preparing. I printed out 5 years of financial statements showing my business growth. I documented every major purchase, every investment, every charitable donation. I created a simple presentation showing that my cheap lifestyle had built substantial wealth. Then I called my sister, Rebecca. Rebecca is 3 years younger than me, a psychiatrist at Swedish Medical Center, and the person who's known me longer than anyone. Jason, it's 11 p.m. What's wrong? I need you to come to Melissa's family dinner tomorrow as my guest. Isn't that family only? It's supposed to be. But Melissa has invited 12 people to stage an intervention about my spending habits. I explained everything. Oh my God, Jason, that's financial abuse. She's manipulating you. I know, but I want to let her go through with it, and I want you there as a witness, as a medical professional who can testify that I'm mentally sound and making rational decisions. Of course I'll be there. What time? 2 p.m., Medina. I'll text you the address. Jason, are you okay? I thought about that question. Was I okay? I just discovered that the woman I loved had been calculating how to access my wealth while pretending to be concerned about my shopping habits. No, I said honestly, but I will be. Sunday, April 23rd. I arrived at Catherine and Robert Hayes' house at exactly 2 p.m. Rebecca was with me. The house was in Medina, the same Seattle suburb where Bill Gates lives. Waterfront property. Probably worth $4 million built on debt, I'd be willing to bet, based on Melissa's financial habits. Robert Hayes answered the door. Melissa's father. Real estate developer. Expensive suit even on a Sunday. Jason, you're here and you brought your sister? Rebecca's my guest. Melissa said it was a casual family dinner. Of course. Come in. The living room was full of people. I recognized Melissa's mother, Catherine, her sister, Jennifer, Jennifer's husband, Brad. But there were also people I didn't know, including Dr. Patricia Hammond, whose nameplate identified her as a psychologist. Jason, Melissa appeared, looking nervous. She kissed my cheek, whispered in my ear, I didn't know you were bringing Rebecca. You didn't tell me you were bringing a psychologist. Her face flushed. I can explain. I'm sure you can. Where should we sit? The living room was arranged in a circle, theater style, intervention style. Melissa guided me to a chair in the center. Rebecca sat beside me. Melissa stood, cleared her throat. Suddenly I was looking at pharmaceutical sales Melissa, the professional version, the one who closed 6-figure deals. Thank you all for coming. I know this is unusual, but Jason and I are about to get married, and there's something we need to address first. She looked around the room, made eye contact with each person, building rapport. Jason is an incredible man. He built a successful business from nothing. He's generous, kind, and loving, but he has a problem that's starting to affect our relationship. Here it comes. Jason has an unhealthy relationship with money. He refuses to spend money on things we need. He drives a car that's 12 years old and has almost 200,000 miles on it. He shops at Target and clips coupons. He won't go out to dinner unless I pay. He's obsessed with saving every penny. She paused for effect. I'm worried that this obsession is a symptom of deeper anxiety. Of trauma, maybe, from growing up without much money. And I think Jason needs help. The room was silent. Everyone was looking at me. Dr. Hammond spoke up. Jason, I'm Dr. Patricia Hammond. I specialize in financial anxiety disorders. Melissa asked me to be here today because she's concerned that your spending patterns might indicate a deeper psychological issue. What kind of issue? I asked calmly. Hoarding behavior, primarily. The inability to spend money even when you have abundant resources. This often stems from childhood poverty or financial trauma. I nodded, pulled out my phone, opened the presentation I'd prepared. Can I show you all something? Melissa looked panicked. Jason, this isn't the time for... I think it's exactly the time. I looked at Dr. Hammond. You said my spending patterns might indicate hoarding behavior. I'd like to provide some context. I stood up, walked to the TV mounted above the fireplace. May I? Robert Hayes nodded. I connected my phone to the TV. The first slide appeared. Jason Carter Financial Overview, 1824. In 2018, my business generated $480,000 in revenue. I took home a salary of $92,000. I owned a house worth $340,000 with a $180,000 mortgage. Next slide. In 2024, my business generates $2.3 million in revenue. I take home a salary of $180,000. I own the same house, now worth $950,000, with no mortgage. Next slide. In those 6 years, I've paid off $180,000 in debt, invested $1.2 million, donated $130,000 to charity, and maintained a personal savings rate of 48%. Next slide. A graph showing my net worth growth. My net worth has increased from $160,000 to $2.4 million in 6 years. That's a 400% increase. And I did it by driving a 2011 Honda Accord and shopping at Target. The room was silent. Dr. Hammond cleared her throat. That's impressive, Jason. But wealth accumulation doesn't necessarily indicate healthy financial behavior. You're right, I said. So let me show you my spending. Next slide. Detailed breakdown of my annual expenses. I spend $2,400 a year on groceries, $200 on utilities, $800 on car insurance for a fully paid-off vehicle, $2,400 on dining out. That's $200 a month, which Melissa characterizes as never going to restaurants. Next slide. I spend $12,000 annually on healthcare and health insurance, $3,600 on home maintenance, $2,400 on clothing and personal care. My total annual personal expenses are approximately $35,000. Next slide. That leaves $145,000 from my salary for savings and investments before taxes. I looked at Melissa. She was pale. Now, let me address the unhealthy relationship with money claim. I don't refuse to spend money on things we need. I refuse to spend money on things we don't need. The difference is important. Next slide. Photos of my car. This is my 2011 Honda Accord. It has 187,000 miles. It runs perfectly. It's paid off. Replacing it with a new car would cost $35,000 minimum. That $35,000 invested at an 8% annual return becomes $75,000 in 10 years. The car works fine. Why would I spend $35,000 on something I don't need? Next slide. Photos of my clothes. These are clothes from Target. This shirt cost $12.99. It's comfortable, it's clean, it's appropriate for my work, which I do from a home office where no one sees me. Why would I spend $100 on a designer shirt when a $13 shirt serves the same purpose? I looked at Dr. Hammond. Is that hoarding behavior? Or is that rational economic decision-making? She didn't answer. I clicked to the next slide. And this is where I went for the kill. Now let me address why we're really here today. The slide showed Melissa's handwritten notes from my office. The ones about joint accounts, life insurance, business ownership. 2 days ago, I came home to find my fiancée going through my financial files without permission. She'd calculated my net worth, made notes about accessing my business accounts, and planned this intervention. Gasps from around the room. Melissa's face went from pale to red. Jason, that's not... The notes are in your handwriting, Melissa. Next slide. Her debt summary, which I'd obtained by asking directly and recording her answer. Melissa currently has $140,000 in personal debt. Credit cards, car lease, personal loans. She makes $95,000 annually in pharmaceutical sales. She spends approximately $78,000 per year on rent, car payments, shopping, and dining out. Next slide. A simple math problem. Income, $95,000. Expenses, $78,000. Debt payments at minimum 5% interest, $7,000 annually. That leaves $10,000 for taxes and additional debt payments. At this rate, she'll pay off her debt in approximately 18 years. I looked at Melissa. Unless she marries someone with $2.4 million in assets. The room erupted. That's not true, Melissa shouted. I love you, Jason. This isn't about money. Really? Then why did you write notes about joint accounts? About checking my life insurance beneficiary? About adding yourself to my business ownership structure. Those were just questions. Normal questions engaged couples ask. Normal questions engaged couples ask each other directly, not calculate secretly in their fiancé's office while going through confidential files. Rebecca stood up. I'm Dr. Rebecca Carter, Jason's sister. I'm a psychiatrist at Swedish Medical Center. I've known Jason his entire life, and I can professionally attest that he exhibits zero signs of financial anxiety disorder, hoarding behavior, or any other psychological condition that would impair his judgment. She looked at Dr. Hammond. What Jason exhibits is something called fiscal responsibility. It's actually quite common among self-made millionaires. They achieve wealth by spending less than they earn and investing the difference. It's not a disorder. It's basic mathematics. Dr. Hammond looked uncomfortable. I was asked to provide a professional opinion based on the information Melissa provided. Information that was deliberately misleading. Rebecca interrupted. She characterized normal frugality as pathological behavior to justify an intervention that was actually designed to pressure Jason into giving her access to his assets. I looked at Melissa's parents. Did you know about the debt? Catherine Hayes looked shocked. Robert looked calculating, like he was doing math in his head. We knew Melissa had some credit card balances, Catherine said slowly, but not that much. She's been paying minimum balances for 5 years, I said. The debt has been growing, not shrinking, and 3 months ago, when her lease was up, she moved into my house without discussing it, without offering to pay rent or utilities. I paid for everything. I clicked to the final slide. A simple statement. I'm not cheap, I'm careful. There's a difference. Cheap means refusing to spend money even when spending serves a legitimate purpose. Careful means evaluating whether spending serves a legitimate purpose before doing it. I looked at Melissa. I would happily spend money on our future together if I believed we had a future together. But this intervention wasn't about helping me. It was about manipulating me into feeling guilty for being financially responsible. It was about creating a narrative where my frugality was a problem that needed to be solved by giving you access to my money. Melissa was crying now. Real tears. Jason, please, you're embarrassing me in front of my family. You tried to embarrass me in front of 12 people, including a psychologist, by claiming I had a mental disorder. I'm just defending myself with facts. Robert Hayes stood up. Jason, I think maybe we all need to take a step back here. Did you know about this plan? I asked him directly. Silence. Robert, did you know your daughter was planning to claim I had financial anxiety disorder so she could pressure me into joint accounts? More silence. I'll take that as a yes. I disconnected my phone from the TV. Looked at Melissa one last time. The engagement is off. I'll have your things packed and ready for pickup by Tuesday. Please return your key to my house. Jason, wait. We're done, Melissa. I walked out. Rebecca followed me. In the car, driving away from that $4 million house built on debt, Rebecca put her hand on my arm. I'm proud of you. For what? For standing up for yourself, for knowing your worth, for not letting her manipulate you. I should have seen it coming. Maybe. But you see it now, and you handled it perfectly. We drove in silence for a while. Jason, can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you drive this car? Really? I thought about that. About the 2011 Honda Accord with 187,000 miles. Because it runs fine. Because I don't need a new car to feel successful. Because I'd rather invest the money and retire at 50 than drive a BMW and work until I'm 65. Rebecca smiled. That's not cheap. That's smart. Thanks, Becca. Also, your car smells like old French fries. I know, but those fries only cost $1.99. The aftermath. Monday morning, I called Marcus Chen. Marcus, I need you to prepare something for me. Name it. A cease and desist letter. If Melissa or anyone in her family contacts me, I want documentation that they've been warned. Consider it done. What happened at the intervention? I told him everything. Jesus, you really showed them your entire financial presentation? Every slide. That's cold, Jason. A wise business partner recently told me that cold is appropriate when someone calculates your net worth on a legal pad. Marcus laughed. Fair point. I'll have the letter ready by tomorrow. Next, I called Trevor. Trevor, we need to review our business structure. Why? What happened? Melissa tried to stage an intervention claiming I had financial anxiety disorder. She wanted access to my business accounts. Holy shit. I need to make sure our operating agreement is airtight. I need to make sure no one can claim a stake in the business without explicit written authorization from both partners. Already done, man. I updated that 6 months ago after my divorce. No one can touch our equity without unanimous partner approval. Good. Also, I want to implement a formal background check process for any new hires. I want to know if they have undisclosed financial issues. That's legal. For positions with financial access, yes. Marcus confirmed it. Consider it done. The calls kept coming throughout the day. Melissa called 17 times. I didn't answer. Her mother called 4 times. Her father called twice. Jennifer, her sister, called once to apologize. Jason, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what she was planning. Did you know about the debt? Silence. Jennifer. She told me it was under control. $140,000 is not under control. I know that now. I'm sorry. The only call I answered was from Dr. Hammond. Mr. Carter, I owe you an apology. You do. I was provided with incomplete and misleading information. Had I known the full context, I would never have agreed to participate. Did Melissa tell you about the debt? No. She led me to believe you were exhibiting pathological hoarding behavior that was causing significant distress in your relationship. Instead, I was exhibiting fiscal responsibility that was causing significant interference with her plan to access my money. Yes, I see that now. For what it's worth, your presentation yesterday was one of the most rational financial frameworks I've seen. Thank you. Mr. Carter, may I offer you some unsolicited professional advice? Go ahead. Be careful about who you trust with your financial information. Wealth attracts opportunists. Melissa saw your success and saw an opportunity. She won't be the last. I'll keep that in mind. On Tuesday, Melissa came to collect her things. I'd packed everything carefully. 3 suitcases, 2 boxes, everything she'd moved into my house 6 months ago. She stood in my doorway, trying one last time. Jason, can we please talk about this? Really talk? What's there to talk about? I made mistakes. I was scared. I have debt, and I panicked. But I do love you. You love my net worth. There's a difference. That's not true. I pulled out my phone, showed her the screenshots I'd taken of her handwritten notes. Joint accounts after marriage, life insurance beneficiary, business ownership structure. Tell me how any of that sounds like love. She stared at the phone, at her own handwriting. I was trying to secure our future. No, you were trying to secure your financial rescue. I was never a person to you. I was a balance sheet. Jason, tell me something. When did you fall in love with me? Was it at the charity gala? Or was it when Trevor confirmed that I owned 75% of a profitable business? Her face told me everything. That's what I thought. Take your things and leave, Melissa. She picked up the suitcases, started crying. You'll regret this. You'll end up alone because you care more about money than people. I care about people who care about me, not people who calculate my net worth on yellow legal pads. She left. I closed the door, and for the first time in 6 months, my house felt like mine again. 2 weeks after the intervention, I got a call from an unknown number. Jason Carter. Speaking. This is Madison Torres. I'm an attorney in Seattle. I represent 3 other women who had relationships with Melissa Hayes. My blood went cold. I'm listening. Melissa has a pattern. She targets successful, financially conservative men. She moves in quickly, establishes financial dependency, then tries to access their assets through marriage or joint accounts. You're saying I'm not the first? You're the 4th we know of. The first 3 ended up married. All 3 are now divorced. All 3 lost significant assets in the settlements. How much? First husband lost $340,000. Second husband lost $890,000. Third husband lost $1.2 million. I did the math. $243 million total. Yes, and the debt? Gets paid off during the marriage using the husband's income. Then she files for divorce, claims irreconcilable differences, and walks away with half the marital assets. That's fraud. It's legal fraud. She never explicitly lies about loving them. She just helps them make financial decisions that benefit her. Joint accounts, joint investments, joint real estate purchases, all community property in Washington State. Why are you calling me? Because you got away. You're the first one who figured it out before the wedding, and we want to know if you'd be willing to testify if we file a civil suit. On what grounds? Fraud. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Conspiracy to commit financial abuse. I'll testify, but I want something in return. What? I want the other 3 ex-husbands' information. I want to warn other men before she finds her next target. I can arrange that. 3 days later, I met with Stephen Morrison, Michael Chen, and Robert Patterson. Melissa's 3 ex-husbands. Stephen went first. Married in 2015, divorced in 2017. Lost $340,000 in the settlement. She moved in after 3 months, started asking about my business immediately. Made me feel guilty for being too focused on money. By the time I figured out what was happening, we were married, and she'd opened 4 joint credit cards. Michael went next. Married in 2018, divorced in 2020, lost $890,000. Same pattern, claimed I had commitment issues because I was afraid to share everything with her. Made me feel like combining finances was what normal couples did. 2 years later, she filed for divorce and took half of everything. Robert went last. Married in 2021, divorced in 2023. Lost $1.2 million. I was the stupidest one. The first 2 divorces were public record. I could have researched her, but she told me they were abusive, that they controlled her financially, that she'd finally found someone who understood her. I looked at these 3 men. Retry continue. I looked at these 3 men. Successful, intelligent, destroyed by the same woman using the same playbook. How did she find you? I asked. Stephen answered. Charity Gala, 2014. She was working pharmaceutical sales, said she admired entrepreneurs who gave back. Michael nodded. Same, different gala, 2017, almost the exact same line. Robert closed his eyes. Art gallery opening, 2020. She said she was attracted to men who were secure enough not to flash their wealth. The pattern was undeniable. Melissa targeted men at charity events, places where successful philanthropic men gathered. Men who were financially conservative enough to donate to causes rather than spend on themselves. Men exactly like me. Did any of you have prenups? I asked. All 3 shook their heads. She refused, Stephen said. Said prenups showed a lack of trust, that if I really loved her, I wouldn't need to protect my assets from her. Same, Michael confirmed. She made me feel like asking for a prenup meant I was planning for divorce before we even got married. Robert just laughed bitterly. She cried, actual tears. Said her father had abandoned her mother after a nasty divorce and she couldn't marry someone who was already planning an exit strategy. I pulled out my phone, showed them the photos of Melissa's notes from my office. She wrote these 2 days before staging an intervention where she claimed I had financial anxiety disorder. Stephen leaned forward, reading. Joint accounts, life insurance beneficiary, business ownership, Jesus Christ. She wrote down the entire playbook. Did she try to access your businesses? I asked. She became a consultant, Michael said. Convinced me her pharmaceutical sales experience could help with business development. Within 6 months, she had signing authority on the company accounts. Same, Robert said, except she became the office manager. Handled payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable. Basically had access to everything. And then, I asked. Then she bled me dry, Robert said flatly. Small withdrawals, transferred to accounts I didn't know she'd opened. By the time I discovered it, she'd taken $340,000. When I confronted her, she filed for divorce and claimed I was financially abusive for questioning her spending. The room fell silent. We need to stop her, Stephen finally said, before she does this to someone else. Madison Torres mentioned a civil suit, I said. What are the chances? Slim, Robert said. He was an attorney himself, corporate law. Everything she did was technically legal. She never stole. She convinced us to give her access. She convinced us to open joint accounts. She convinced us that sharing everything was what married couples do. What about fraud? We'd have to prove intent, prove that she entered into the marriages with the specific purpose of accessing our assets. That's nearly impossible. What if we had a pattern? I asked. 4 men. Same approach, same timeline, same financial devastation. Robert considered this. It might work. Pattern evidence can establish intent, but we'd need to prove she knew what she was doing from the start. She knew, I said. The notes prove she knew. I forwarded them the photos. Joint accounts after marriage, Stephen read aloud. Not joint accounts because we love each other. After marriage. She was planning the legal structure before the relationship even solidified. Can we use this? Michael asked Robert. Robert studied the photos for a long time. Maybe. It shows premeditation. Shows she was thinking about asset access before thinking about the relationship. Combined with the pattern evidence from 4 separate men. What do we need? I asked. More evidence. Financial records showing her debt levels before and after each marriage. Proof that she deliberately targeted financially successful men. Testimony from people who knew about her plans. Her family, I said. Her father knew about the intervention. I'm certain of it. They'll never testify against her, Stephen said. Her father co-signed 2 of my business loans during our marriage, then claimed I defrauded him when we divorced. He's as bad as she is. Maybe we don't need them to testify, I said. Maybe we just need to make the pattern public. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I created a website. Simple, clean, professional. The header read, Financial Predators, a public warning. Below that, I posted everything. Melissa's pattern across 4 relationships. The timeline of each relationship. Married quickly, divorced within 3 years. The financial damage, $2.43 million total across 3 divorces. The handwritten notes from my office. Testimony from the 3 ex-husbands, with their permission. The intervention recording, Rebecca had recorded it on her phone. I didn't use Melissa's full name. I used MH Seattle-based pharmaceutical sales representative. But I included enough details that anyone doing due diligence on a new romantic partner could find it. The website went live on Tuesday, May 16th at 9 a.m. By noon, it had 1,200 views. By 5 p.m., it had 8,400 views. By midnight, it had 47,000 views. The comments section exploded. This happened to my brother. Different woman, same pattern. Why isn't this illegal? This should be required reading before getting married. How do we protect ourselves from people like this? On Wednesday morning, I got a call from Marcus Chen. Jason, what did you do? Publish the truth. Melissa's attorney called me. They're threatening to sue for defamation. Let them. Everything on that site is factually accurate and verified. They're also threatening harassment charges. I didn't use her full name. I didn't publish her address or contact information. I published a pattern of behavior that affected 4 men financially. They're claiming you're trying to destroy her reputation. Marcus, her reputation is built on destroying men financially. I'm just making the foundation visible. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You know this is going to get ugly. It's already ugly. I'm just making sure the next guy sees it before he proposes. By Thursday, the website had 200,000 views. It had been shared on Reddit, Twitter, and several personal finance forums. The media started calling. First, local news. We'd like to interview you about financial abuse in relationships. Then regional. We're doing a story on marriage fraud. Then national. This is Katie Richardson from Good Morning America. We'd love to have you on to discuss your experience. I declined all interviews. The website spoke for itself, but the story took on a life of its own. On Friday, a Seattle Times journalist named Amanda Park published an article. The Marriage Con: How Financial Predators Target Successful Men. She'd interviewed all 3 ex-husbands. She'd verified the divorces through court records. She'd contacted a dozen other men who reported similar experiences with women they'd met at charity events. The article went viral. 2.3 million views in 48 hours. Melissa's employer, Pacific Northwest Pharmaceuticals, issued a statement. We are aware of the allegations and are conducting an internal review. 3 days later, Melissa was terminated. The official reason, violation of company ethics policies. The unofficial reason, several of her clients had expressed concerns about working with her after the article was published. On Tuesday, May 30th, exactly 5 weeks after the intervention, I received a letter from Melissa's attorney. It wasn't a lawsuit. It was a settlement offer. Ms. Hayes is willing to agree to the following terms. She will make no further attempts to contact Mr. Carter. She will make no public statements about Mr. Carter. She will seek counseling for her financial management issues. She will make restitution payments to her 3 ex-husbands totaling $50,000 over 5 years. In exchange, Mr. Carter will remove the website. Make no further public statements about Ms. Hayes. Refrain from interfering in her future relationships. Sign a mutual non-disparagement agreement. I called Marcus immediately. What do you think? I think she's desperate. Her career is over. Her reputation is destroyed. She's trying to salvage anything she can. Is $50,000 enough? It's $50,000 more than those men would get otherwise. Courts don't typically award restitution in divorce cases, even with evidence of fraud. What about the website? That's your call, Jason. You've made your point. The pattern is documented. The warning is public. Whether you keep it up or take it down, both are defensible. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I called Stephen, Michael, and Robert. She's offering $50,000 total restitution, $16,666 each, in exchange for taking down the website and signing an NDA. That's insulting, Stephen said. She took $340,000 from me. She took $890,000 from me, Michael added. And $1.2 million from me, Robert finished. We'd be accepting 2% of what we lost. But it's 2% you wouldn't get otherwise, I said. And she'd be admitting what she did. Formally. In writing. Silence. There's something else to consider, I said. The website has served its purpose. The pattern is documented. The Seattle Times article is archived permanently. Anyone doing research on her will find it. Taking down the website doesn't erase what's already out there. So we'd be taking $50,000 to do something that doesn't really cost us anything? Robert asked. Essentially, yes. I'll take it, Stephen said. Not because of the money, but because I want her signature on a document admitting she did this. I want proof I'm not crazy. Same, Michael said. I spent 3 years thinking I was the problem, thinking I was too controlling with money. Written admission that she was manipulating me. That's worth more than $16,000. Robert, I asked, take the deal, but add one more condition. What? She has to attend mandatory financial counseling for 2 years, and she has to provide proof of attendance. Why? Because I don't want her doing this to anyone else. Financial counseling will create a paper trail. If she tries this again, the next guy can find evidence that she has a history of financial manipulation. We modified the settlement offer and sent it back. Melissa's attorney accepted within 24 hours. The documents were signed on June 15th. I took down the website that evening. But I kept screenshots of everything, and I kept the original handwritten notes she'd left in my office, just in case. The reckoning. 6 months passed. Fall turned to winter in Seattle. My business grew. Trevor and I landed 3 new contracts totaling $1.8 million annually. Our revenue projections for 2025 were north of $4 million. I was still driving the 2011 Honda Accord. It now had 193,000 miles. Still ran fine. I was still shopping at Target, though I'd upgraded to the $50.99 shirts instead of the $12.99 ones, living dangerously. I was still single, by choice. Dr. Hammond had been right. Wealth attracts opportunists. After the Seattle Times article, I received 17 messages from women who wanted to meet for coffee, or discuss my story, or see if we had anything in common. I ignored all of them. Then, in December, I got an email that changed my perspective. Mr. Carter, my name is Daniel Foster. I'm a financial advisor in Portland. I recently started dating someone who seemed perfect, smart, successful, charming. 3 months in, she moved into my apartment. 4 months in, she started asking about my investment portfolio. Last week I found notes in her handwriting about joint accounts, about life insurance beneficiaries. I Googled her name plus financial abuse and found the Seattle Times article. Then I found cached copies of your website. I broke up with her yesterday. Thank you for potentially saving me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thank you for having the courage to make this public. I'm writing to ask, is there any way to make your website active again, even temporarily? There are men out there who need to see this information before they make the same mistakes. Respectfully, Daniel Foster. I stared at that email for an hour. Then I called Marcus Chen. The settlement agreement says I can't make public statements about Melissa specifically. Does it say anything about making public statements about financial predators generally? Let me read it again. I heard papers shuffling. It says you agree not to publish, promote, or maintain any website, article, or public statement that identifies, references, or discusses MH or her personal financial matters. So, I can't mention her specifically. Correct. But I could publish general information about financial predators, warning signs, red flags, without naming anyone. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Technically, yes. As long as you don't identify her specifically. What if people figure out who I'm talking about? That's on them, not you. You'd be providing general educational information. If readers connect the dots themselves, that's not a violation of the NDA. I rebuilt the website that night. New name, Financial Red Flags, How to Protect Your Assets in Relationships. New content, Warning Signs of Financial Manipulation. Questions to ask before combining finances, the importance of credit checks before marriage, how to structure prenups, red flags in relationship progression, case studies, anonymous, of financial abuse patterns. I didn't mention Melissa. I didn't mention Seattle. I didn't mention pharmaceutical sales, but I did mention charity galas, quick move-ins, resistance to prenups, hidden debt, staged interventions. The website went live on December 20th. Within a week, I received 340 emails from men thanking me. 47 of them said they'd broken up with girlfriends after recognizing the warning signs. 12 said they'd insisted on prenups after reading the case studies. 8 said they discovered their partners had hidden debt exceeding $50,000. One email stood out. Mr. Carter, I'm a divorce attorney in San Francisco. I've handled 23 cases in the past 5 years that match the pattern you described. All involved women who specifically targeted wealthy, frugal men. All resulted in significant asset transfers. I've started requiring my clients to review your website before signing any financial documents with romantic partners. Thank you for this resource. Sarah Martinez, S-Key. The website grew. 50,000 monthly visitors by February, 100,000 by April, 200,000 by June. Media outlets started calling again. This time, I accepted some interviews. I'm not trying to make people paranoid, I told a Forbes journalist. I'm trying to make people careful. There's a difference between healthy financial transparency in a relationship and financial manipulation. People need to know the warning signs. What's the most important red flag? She asked. Resistance to prenups combined with pressure for joint accounts. If someone truly loves you, they'll understand why you want to protect what you've built. If they make you feel guilty for being cautious with your assets, that's a red flag. The article was published in August. The Millionaire's Guide to Protecting Assets in Relationships. My inbox exploded, 200 emails in 48 hours. Most were thank yous, but some were angry. You're making men afraid to trust women. This is misogynistic. You're painting all women as gold diggers. Not everyone who has debt is a financial predator. I responded to those personally. I'm not suggesting all women are gold diggers. I'm suggesting that gold diggers exist, and they specifically target certain types of men. Ignoring that fact doesn't protect anyone. Financial manipulation isn't about debt, it's about deception. Having debt isn't wrong. Hiding debt while calculating someone else's net worth is. And this isn't gender specific. Men do this too. The warning signs apply regardless of gender. In September, I got an email that made everything worthwhile. Mr. Carter, remember me? Daniel Foster from Portland? The woman I broke up with last year, she just got engaged to a software engineer in San Diego. I found him on LinkedIn and sent him your website. He called off the engagement 2 weeks later. She'd moved in after 2 months. She had $95,000 in hidden debt. She'd been asking about his stock options. He says you saved him from making the biggest mistake of his life. How many men have you saved now? Thank you, Daniel. I didn't know how to answer that question. How many men had I saved? Hundreds? Thousands? I thought about Stephen, Michael, and Robert. Good men who'd lost millions to someone who saw them as balance sheets. I thought about myself. How close I'd come to marrying someone who'd calculated my net worth on a yellow legal pad. I thought about all the emails, all the thank yous, all the broken engagements that prevented future divorces. Then I thought about something Dr. Hammond had said. Be careful about who you trust with your financial information. Wealth attracts opportunists. She'd been right, but she'd left out the second part. Wealth also creates responsibility. I had wealth. I had a platform. I had a story that could help people. Using that wealth to protect others wasn't revenge, it was responsibility. The resolution. It's been 18 months since the intervention now. The Honda Accord has 206,000 miles. I'm thinking about replacing it. Next year. Maybe. If it stops running. My business hit $4.2 million in annual revenue last quarter. Trevor and I hired 4 new employees. All of them underwent financial background checks. None of them have debt exceeding 30% of their income. I'm still single. Still dating occasionally. Still careful. I met someone named Jennifer 3 months ago. She's a high school math teacher. She drives a 2014 Camry with 152,000 miles. She shops at thrift stores. She brings lunch from home in Tupperware containers. On our 3rd date, I told her about Melissa, about the intervention, about the website. I need you to know that I'm careful about money, I said. Really careful. Some people think I'm cheap. She laughed. I'm a public school teacher, Jason. I budget down to the dollar. If you're cheap, we'll be cheap together. I also need you to know that I'm financially successful, and that makes some people see me differently. How successful? Millionaire successful. She was quiet for a moment. Then, do you like being a millionaire? I like being financially secure. I like knowing I can retire at 50 if I want. I like being able to help people without worrying about my own bills. Then I'm happy for you, but I'm not dating your bank account. I'm dating you, the guy who told me he didn't order dessert because he wasn't hungry, not because he couldn't afford it. We've been dating for 3 months now. She still doesn't know my exact net worth. I haven't told her, and she hasn't asked. Last week, she asked if I wanted to split the cost of a weekend trip to Cannon Beach. I found a hotel for $89 a night. If we split it, that's $44.50 each, plus gas and food, probably $200 total per person. I looked at this woman, this math teacher who'd calculated the cost breakdown before suggesting the trip. I'll pay for the hotel, I said. You pay for gas and food. That's not fair. The hotel is more expensive. I want to pay for the hotel. Please let me pay for the hotel. She studied my face. Is this a millionaire thing? It's a, I really like you and I want to take you on a nice trip thing. Okay, but I'm paying for dinner on Saturday night. Deal. We went to Cannon Beach last weekend. The hotel was actually $129 a night, not $89. She'd found the cheaper option and thought that was good enough. I upgraded us to an ocean view room without telling her, $180 a night. When we checked in and she saw the view, she turned to me. This isn't the $89 room. No. How much did you spend? Does it matter? She walked to the window, looked out at the Pacific Ocean. Waves crashing against rocks, sunset painting the sky orange and purple. It's beautiful, she said quietly. You're worth it. She turned around. Tears in her eyes. I make $54,000 a year, Jason. I can't afford to take you to places like this. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to enjoy places like this with me. That doesn't seem fair. Why not? Because relationships should be equal. I walked over to her. Took her hands. Relationships should be equitable, not equal. You bring things to this relationship that I can't buy. You make me laugh. You challenge me intellectually. You see me as a person, not a balance sheet. That's worth more than a hotel room with an ocean view? She kissed me, long and sweet. I really like you, Jason Carter. I really like you too, Jennifer Walsh. Even though I drive a car with 152,000 miles? Especially because you drive a car with 152,000 miles. We spent the weekend walking on the beach, eating at casual restaurants, talking about our futures. She wants to get her master's degree in educational administration, eventually become a principal. I want to sell my business in 5 years and retire. Maybe teach coding at a community college, give back. She didn't ask me to pay for her degree. I didn't offer, but I'm thinking about it. Not because she expects it, but because I want to. Because that's what you do when you care about someone. You invest in their future, not because you're trying to buy their love or manipulate them into joint accounts, but because their success makes you happy, and their happiness makes you whole. Last month, I got one final email about Melissa. It was from Madison Torres, the attorney who'd originally contacted me. Mr. Carter, I wanted you to know that MH has moved to Phoenix. She's working as a real estate agent now. She's been dating someone for 4 months. His name is Gregory Walsh. He's a dentist, successful practice, recently divorced, no prenup with his ex-wife, lost significant assets. I reached out to him, sent him the Seattle Times article, warned him about the pattern. He thanked me. Then he told me he'd already done his research. He'd found your website. He'd read every word. He said he appreciated the warning, but he believed MH had changed, that she'd been through counseling, that she'd learned from her mistakes. I wanted you to know that we tried. I also wanted you to know that Gregory Walsh asked MH to sign a prenup. She refused, said prenups showed a lack of trust. They broke up 2 weeks later. Thank you for your work, for your courage, for protecting men who might not protect themselves. Best, Madison Torres. I read that email 3 times. Then I archived it with the others, the hundreds of emails from men who'd escaped, the dozens from men who'd been saved, the handful from men who'd ignored the warnings and learned expensive lessons. You can lead a horse to water, as they say. Some people need to learn their own lessons, make their own mistakes, touch their own hot stoves. I can't save everyone. I can only share what I learned. And hope that's enough. If you're reading this story, take away these lessons. Financial responsibility isn't cheapness, it's wisdom. Trust must be earned through actions, not demanded through guilt. Anyone who makes you feel bad about protecting your assets is someone you need to protect your assets from. Hidden debt is a red flag. Calculated net worth is a red flag. Staged interventions are a red flag. Love doesn't require access to bank accounts. It requires access to hearts. I'm 42 now. Still driving that Honda Accord, still shopping at Target, still worth $2.9 million because I don't spend money I don't need to spend. But I'm also dating someone who understands that frugality and generosity aren't opposites. They're complements. Someone who appreciates a nice hotel room but doesn't expect one. Someone who knows my net worth but doesn't care about it. Someone who sees me as Jason, not as Jason plus $2.9 million. That's worth more than all the money in the world. And nobody, not Melissa or anyone like her, can ever take that away. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe. If this story helped you avoid a financial mistake, leave a comment with your city. If you know someone who needs to read this, share it. Remember, the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's building something so good that destroying you was their biggest mistake, and then helping others avoid making the same mistake you almost made. Stay careful, stay smart, stay true to who you are. The right person will love you for it.